in order today. What is it, May 30th? I'm Paul Javatkoff and I'm acting mayor today. So the first item on the agenda are delegations. And we've got some young people that would like to present some appreciation certificates to. City of Dawson Creek presented to Hunter Crop in recognition of representing the City of Dawson Creek at the Youth Bowl Canada's YBC Bantam and Junior Championships. On behalf of City Council, thank you for representing our community to the province and nation, and we wish you luck at the YBC National Championships in Oshawa, Ontario in July 2022. You want to come up, Hunter? This is your certificate.
Thank you.
And we have a little gift pack for you.
Hunter.
He's not as scary as he looks.
Oh, yes, he is.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, and we have a second one.
Congratulations. Good job.
Caleb Waller, in recognition of representing the City of Dawson Creek at the Youth Bowl Canada's YBC Bantam and Junior Championships. On behalf of City Council, thank you for representing our community to the province and nation, and we wish you luck at the YBC National Championships in Oshawa, Ontario in July 2022. Do you want to come up, Caleb? This is your certificate. And I've got a gift pack for you.
You both got a smile.
All right.
This is the part where the
Thank you.
credit card
Good
goes.
job.
Exercise. Congratulations.
Good job.
Have fun, you guys.
And our speed skater's not here yet? Okay, well, we can do it when she gets here.
So far, so good.
You should have challenged the mayor to a board.
Yeah.
I think he'd whoop him.
Can we still do that?
The acting mayor.
Yeah, just trying to help, your worship.
We could try both.
How about all of these guys?
Yeah, all of them.
Hunter, how about all of them?
I think the
All
only
of
one
the
that's sitting
elected
here that
side.
they might not be would
On
be
this side.
Amy.
Yeah.
She's pretty good.
Oh, is she a good bowler? Right.
Yes.
No, let's challenge all of these guys.
Yeah.
Hey Darcy wanted to stop.
Okay, our next item is item 3, late items. Is there any late items? Item 4 is new councillor business. Councillor Wilbur.
Are we using this? No?
Hmm?
Are we using this?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Thank you. So yeah, Mayor Bumstead is not here today. So we have done this in the past when we've had new physicians come to town. We have a meet and greet and we invite members of the community to come and meet our new doctors. And it's great news that we do have new physicians in the community. So I'm proposing that the city approve a budget of $1,500 from economic development for hosting a physician meet and greet in June of 2022. I have not contacted the group, physicians in the South Peace yet, because I wanted to see if this got approved by council first before I moved further with making plans.
So is that by way of a motion?
That is a proposed motion, yep, way of motion.
So we can vote on that now, Brenda?
Just a seconder and then we can vote.
Yeah, so is there a seconder for that? Councillor Dober? Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Darcy.
Oh, thank you.
That was magic how you did that one.
I just wish it to happen, eh?
Yeah. I'm totally, in support of doing this for the physicians. I just had a question. I know that the mayor has his own economic development budget, so I'm just wondering why this would come to council, or is it coming out of a separate pool?
Through you, your worship, no, this is coming out of the ECDEV budget that council grants to the mayor. But usually on projects like this, the mayor wants to inform council of the use and what he's doing under the ECDEV. And something like this is really as much for information, but he's seeking your approval.
Okay.
Ultimately, council has the authority. The mayor has limited powers by himself, and mayor and council together can make these
Okay,
decisions.
thanks
All
for
right.
clearing it up. Thank you.
Are there any other comments?
Yes. Speak. Healthcare is delivered by many different categories of professionals. And really, they function as a team. And I'm wondering why it's exclusively to doctors and not to all the other very valuable healthcare professionals new to our community. When I was last in hospital, 3 of the nurses that I met were all new to the community. And why not extend it?
Do you want me to? Well, my mic's still on, so I can. To Councillor Parslow's point, I think that's a great opportunity that they could be included in this. I think it's really just about meeting the community and letting the community know that we do have increase in healthcare. So I'm pretty sure that that invitation could be put out to nurses as well, or other medical professionals that are new to the community.
Just one last question. I'm assuming new means, let's say, the year 2022?
I believe these physicians are new this year to the community, but I think it's something that would be put out to the South Peace Physicians Group, and then we could gather information from there and extend that invitation to anyone in the medical field that is new to the community. So we've had people that also come in in 2021 that were working through the hospital. So I think through the Physicians Group, we can get that list and just invite them to come out and meet council and meet members of the community.
Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to speak to Councillor Parslow's question about the specifics, the mayor asked me to attend the physician luncheon they host to welcome new physicians last time. And at that time, there were 4 or 5 new physicians in the community with another 4 expected over the summer. So I'm not sure when the exact date is, but I think, if we can get our hooks in early and make sure we're welcoming people, it's in our best interest. And I don't see why, with a bit of ingenuity, we couldn't expand that invitation to include other healthcare professionals.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll have a vote.
My badge is, there we are.
Yeah, through your worship. If, and there should be an option for your vote as well.
For me? Okay, we'll,
You gotta end it. Right there.
we'll go back to the item 2 delegations. We have our speed skater here. Naomi Anderson, in recognition of representing the city of Dawson Creek at the 2022 provincial and national speed skating competitions. On behalf of City Council, thank you for representing our community to the province and the nation, and we wish you much success with your future speed skating events. Thank you. And that's what There you go.
You gotta go back there and take a picture.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Danny.
Okay, we'll go back to new councillor business. Councillor Kemp.
Good morning, thank you. I just wanted to give a little background on the United Way's Period Promise campaign. So, period poverty is much more common in our community than you would think. Half of all people who menstruate say they have struggled to purchase products for themselves at some time in their life, and more than a quarter have gone through a period without having any products to support them. United Way's Period Promise campaign is committed to changing that and makes it easy for everyone to help out. You can organize a Period Promise campaign to collect donations in your community, in your school, in your workplace, or union, or even a socially distanced drop-off with your neighbors. In 2022, we hope you'll help us set a new record so that we can distribute more products than ever to community organizations in our area. To make that promise, we'll need to collect more than 100,000 menstrual products or their equivalent in financial donations. It's not going to be easy, but we're making it safe and easy to get involved. The easiest way is to have an impact is to donate directly to the Period Promise campaign. You can do that by making a financial contribution through the website or by dropping the menstrual products at one of the product site locations. If you want to go even one step further, you can run a product collection or financial donation campaign with your family, friends, or coworkers. So Mayor Bumstead met with the United Way and got 2 collection boxes for the pool and the library last week. So the campaign runs from May 27th till June 10th. If you wish to donate or purchase products, you can donate online or send funds to the administration department on the 3rd floor at City Hall. United Way has worked to get 211 in place in BC, which is a free and confidential service that's available 24/7 in 150 plus languages. So you can dial or text 211 or online at bc211.ca to help find services or support for all ages challenges, including addiction, abuse, mental health, financial aid, housing, support groups, and so much more.
Thank you. So the next item is, so are there any other new councillor business?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate the South Peace Historical Society, who celebrated their 70th anniversary this weekend, and they had an open house event at NAR Museum from 12 to 4, which I attended, and it was lovely to speak with all the members and have an opportunity to thank them and congratulate them for all the work they've done in our community to help us sustain and appreciate our heritage here. So kudos to them.
Thank you. Councillor Wilbur?
Thank you. I just had a couple other things. To follow up on Councillor Kemp's presentation, so those products are available free at Aubert downtown. Anytime, no questions asked. We just have them available in the washroom, so anyone that's at need, please come down and help yourself. Secondly, I attended the Canadian Immigration Summit. It was 3 days long virtually. Eastern Standard Time, so my day started at 4 a.m., but we got through it. Some really valuable information that'll be available for the next 3 weeks. So I'll pass that along as they make it available in PDF. And also, My understanding is we have 3 new immigrants to our community from the Ukraine. They've been able to find employment, and we'll be meeting with them at Aubert this week to see how else we can help in the community. So welcome to Dawson Creek, and maybe we can even get them in here to meet them and let them know that we support them. So it really was a great summit. The mayor and I had talked to some of the people that work within Immigration Canada, and so they had invited to the summit, and I did attend, and there was people from all over Canada, and it's amazing actually how many immigrants come from countries that are actually living in Whitehorse and the Yukon. It was interesting, and that they're looking to come to the north, so we need people and we need workers, so I look forward to working with whoever arrives. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow.
Thank you. Just 2 items. I attended the Art Gallery auction. It was very well organized. The food was delicious. The meat doctor does fantastic work. And because I love Indian food, I was pleased to see that Spicy Fusion was there, and I took part in eating some of their lovely samosas. But it was a very well-organized event, and I congratulate the volunteers and the staff for that. I don't know the proceeds of the event, but it certainly was well attended, and it was a pretty good party atmosphere for those who like parties, and congratulations to them. On a more serious note, I was asked by a company to meet with them about the challenges related to a new, soon-to-be mandated changes to the building codes and with the quest for net zero accommodation, and the need perhaps for there's a great deal of learning required by not just the building, the people, the contractors, but also all the sub-trades. And they're unable to really to give quotes for new accommodations, etc., because it's an unknown field. There was a meeting in Prince George, and one of them representing that company did attend, as did the city's building inspector. And so I shared what I picked up at this meeting. Originally I planned just to talk to Kevin, but Blair was on hand, and so I grabbed Blair as well. So they're fully aware of this, and some of the comments that both Kevin and Blair made thoroughly excited me, because this is there's some opportunities here to bring some people together and really help Dawson Creek get to the forefront in this and equip people with skills and the community members themselves who are seeking to build new homes for themselves a step up. So I see partnerships happening, and staff will be following through on this. So I think it's important to know that something will be happening to help that important sector in our economy. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councillor Kemp.
Sorry, just a side note, something I forgot to add to the period promise campaign. So I'd mentioned that there's 2 collection boxes at the pool in the library, but there also is collection boxes around the communities. So there's one at Save on Foods, Shoppers Drug Mart, Post and Row, the Co-op, and as well at Safeway. So they're throughout the community as well.
Thank you. Is there any other new councillor business? There's only one left.
Saving myself.
Okay, the next item is item 5.1, minutes of the regular meeting of council for adoption. Moved by Councillor Wilbur, seconded by Councillor Dober. We'll go to the vote. It's good. So that vote passed, I assume. The next item is item 6.1, a memo from Blair.
All right. Thank you, Your Worship. This memo comes as a request from yourselves, Mayor and Council, based on the grandstands at the Exhibition Association and the history related to those. So as you will see, there is a report and then a drafted timeline of what has occurred out there. There's quite a history of it in dealing with the Exhibition Association and the grandstands, but it is really for your information at this point through a request that came to our administrative arm to bring it back to yourselves. So if there's any questions, we would answer them if we can and go from there.
Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, thank you. It was very informative, and it does raise a question or two. So just to focus staff, I only have questions relating to one paragraph.
Okay.
And it's the paragraph towards the end there that says in 2018, comma, the city contracted Force Engineering Group to complete another assessment of the DCA fairgrounds. So are you with me with the paragraph?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't wish to comment on the first part. But after, so where it says on the fourth line up and to the very end, it states the city made plans to fund an acid wash and complete structural repairs and upgrades to the grandstands in 2019. However, this was not completed. In May 2020, $50,000 was paid to the DCEA through the city for a PRRD economic development grant. Now, I'm making an assumption that that last sentence was just information, has nothing relating to the grandstand. Is that a correct assumption?
Through Your Worship, yes, it is.
Okay, so the question is, why was the work that was planned, because we have, safety issues, code issues, why was it not completed?
As I understand it, through Your Worship, the work that was put in there was the acid wash or the sandblasting on the frames and so on. That's what we know about it. This has been ongoing, as you can see by that time frame, for many years. I was not engaged in this at that time, no excuse, but following the chronological order of what we were able to find on this, there was work done, but the welding that we have undertaken for this year to ensure the safety and the code requirements of those stands is now being undertaken. So there is, as I said, quite a history. You'll see the expense on the seating particularly was significant. But this one here and the $50,000, I would have to get a breakdown of how the Exhibition Association expended those dollars.
Yeah, I mean, so the assumption was it was not related to the grandstand. But just a supplementary question that not a statement really. It wasn't just acid wash. It was also complete structural repairs and upgrades, right? So the acid wash did happen, right?
Yeah.
But the structural repairs and upgrades.
As I understand, there was some welding done on the stands at the time. But again, seeing what we've seen recently and the engagement we have taken on to repair those stands indicates that this may be an ongoing issue with those grandstands for us, with the idea of planning to redevelop them in the future. So there could be, each year I think we are going to have to do our due diligence as a community to ensure the safety of that structure for the people. We put thousands of people in there and they're a good... Right. They're a good setup, but we have to ensure we do our due diligence.
Yeah, in no way am I challenging you, but this is what it said. This was not completed, but now, with just what you just said, maybe it was, because you said there was some welding done, so surely...
Not every
Sarah
okay.
worked on pulling this together. So my understanding, there was some, not everything, because that's why we're back at this right now. If you remember some of the pictures we'd seen earlier, there was some broken welds. That was what was discovered on the grandstands and brought to our attention. And we engaged the engineering company to go out, look at it, tell us what had to be done to meet code to ensure the safety of the residents or whoever occupies those. So it is an aging structure, though. I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that the day will come when these grandstands have to be replaced. And we'll have to, as budget discussions begin later this summer, late summer, early fall, begin a discussion as to putting some money away for those, because this will be a relatively costly ticket item to replace those grandstands over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So.
I had a question as well. So the welding that's going on now, who's managing the contract? Is it the city?
I would have to look to our staff. The engineering is we will contract it out. The welding, it'll be a structural welder that goes in, and then the engineering company goes back in and does their work to confirm acceptance of the work done. So it's an engineering company that is going to have the final say in it, not the city.
I guess to ensure that it does happen in a timely way and completed and inspected, I think would be appropriate for the city to actually look after the job.
It's well underway right now. We have talked with the company. There has been I believe three are interested, structural welding companies that qualify, have done the walkthrough already. I believe they're finalizing, and the time frame is important. The people know that this has to be done in order to meet the requirements of our 100th anniversary coming up.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Can I make a motion to receive this
Yeah.
information?
So got a motion to receive from Councillor Parslow and Councillor Earl seconds. And we'll have a vote. It's good? Okay, that takes us to item 7. 7.1 is correspondence. 7.1 is a letter from Josh Curiata. Councillor Parslow.
I move that we grant this request.
A motion to grant the request. Is there a seconder? Councillor Wilbur? Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Councillor Dober?
I know like somewhere in the contract that I've seen in the last couple of years of the event, there's like 3 events a year that we can waive the fee, so there's no cost to us. This is just one of the 3.
Yes, I believe it's 2
Okay.
through your worship, but yeah, this would be one of
Okay.
the uses for the city guaranteed with no cost.
Okay. Thank you.
That was my question.
Okay, any other discussion? We'll go to the vote. Okay, item 7.2 is a letter from Sherry Maycock. Councillor Parslow,
Move that we receive this for information.
motion to receive for information. Is there a seconder? Councillor Earl? There's no discussion on that, eh?
No.
Getting quick, Paul.
Through you for clarification, your worship, on this letter. Traditionally, they are looking, is there any member of council wishing to attend? There is opportunity to participate as well in the gold panning. That would be just if we receive for information, we could go back to individuals if you would so like, whichever way you'd like us to handle that.
So is there anybody that wants to go to it?
I'll go. I
I went last year.
I'm a maybe. I got family in town, but my brother might want to come gold panning with me.
Counselor Kemp for sure, and Counselor Earl possibly.
Yeah, I'll go. Can we just go on our own? Like, we don't need to do anything.
No, I think this is traditionally each year, it's a courtesy to each member municipality in our region, particularly that the District of Taylor sends out for their gold panning championships.
So can we just include that in the motion, or do we have to have a new motion?
No.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we will just have the executive assistant coordinate with the
Okay.
councillors that wish to attend. And we just need 2 more votes on that.
It says locked.
It's locked.
The next item, 7.3, is
Through
a
you, Mr.
letter
Chair.
from.
We're still voting.
Oh, we're still voting?
I've restarted that vote just so that we
Oh,
can
you
get all voters.
restarted it. Blair interrupted the proceedings.
All voted now.
7.3, a letter from Wayne and Helen Ezard. Counselor Parslow?
I would like to hear the comments of staff on this matter. Shante needs to speak there.
There you go. Through your worship, we actually met with the disc golf last week. They are in the process of looking at increasing to 18 disc golf baskets because that is what a disc golf would need to have. They had been aware that someone was not happy. What they were coming to do is coming back to mayor and council, and they were going to ask for the approval, come up with a plan. We worked with them. I'm not sure if they are in this exact area when he talked with us last week, so we sent an email to Dave to see if that's correct. But what happens is they are planning on doing that. They have 13 baskets right now. Their idea was if they came here to do a temporary 18 holes to work with the community, they would go door to door and have a communication with people to see what was happening. They are very cognizant of the outdoor woods as well as the wildlife that is there as well. They have moved, I believe, for sure one basket because of the safety and because of the concern with the community, the neighbors that were in there. So they have been trying to work with the group of people. With this letter, we will also get them to reach out to have a conversation with them as well. The parks that is a great place for them to have that disc golf, and to go to 18 holes is important for them. They meet on Monday nights as well, so you guys are aware, and they meet every second Monday, because one Monday they go to Puskupi, and then the next Monday they have their group here, and they have about 50 members.
Counselor Parslow?
Well, so is there a recommendation from the staff?
Through your worship, what we were asking, we wanted them to come to you to do the presentation, the disc golf, because I think that's the most important thing for them to come and have engagement with you as well. From that point on, then they would meet with the community once they got the direction from what mayor and council would like to do. But they have full intention of having communication with the neighbors to make sure they're all right. They were looking at doing a temporary area for the summer to determine if it would work, if it would not work, before they would ask to extend to 18 holes.
So do we wait for them to come in before we make a motion on this, or?
I would recommend that we wait for them to come in. At the same point, we can reach out and have communication with Mr. Ezard and his family to have conversation as well and start looking at what they're talking about. We are trying to confirm with Dave to see if this is the area that they are actually in. Otherwise, if they're not going to be in that area, there could not be a concern with it right now.
Okay. Counselor Parslow?
So I move that we receive this for information.
Move to receive for information. Counselor Earl?
Oh, no.
Second it. So we'll go to a vote.
What's that?
Sorry.
Paul? It's locked. Locked already. It's locked. Democracy may not survive the day, Paul.
Okay?
So, Your Worship, to be very clear on that letter we've just accepted, we will have the disc golf people come and present to yourselves, at which time they will lay out where their new expansion areas would be, at which point then you could make a determination along whether it's direction to us to bring something back or you see it as a permitted use that you would allow in the parks. But they will have to come and present, at which time then they will have hopefully engaged with the public in the areas that they would like to expand to as well. So.
Okay, 7.4, letters from Minister Nathan Cullen and Minister of Municipal Affairs and Premier John Horgan. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just not sure how to action this, whether we receive for information at the moment and then collaborate with staff about any meetings we want booked, or you'd like us to pitch some to you at the moment.
Through you, Your Worship, this is really political meetings based on what the wishes of Mayor and Council are to meet with either the Premier or Minister Cullen. There's also the opportunity to meet with other ministers at UBCM, as we've done in the past. So if at this point Mayor and Council would like to have that discussion amongst themselves on issues or along with administration, this could be deferred until the following meeting. I believe that would accommodate the timeframes, and I'll look to Brenda for that, which would allow time for certainly Mayor Bumstead to be back as well and engaged in a discussion. It may be worthwhile that you pick, a number of items that you would like to meet on, whatever that may be, and then we can coordinate those meetings for you on your behalf.
Okay, thank you. All right, I won't get too married to anything until his worship's back and we can coordinate, but I'm not sure the issue of brownfield remediation, whether that would fall under the purview of the Minister of Municipal Affairs or Ministry of Land or what have you, but I'd like to talk to somebody about that.
All right. And we can, certainly ideas like that, we will duly note that. And then as any others come to mind of any of yourselves, bring them, if the motion is to defer to the next meeting, then bring them forward then, and we would move forward to coordinate such meetings.
Okay.
So you're making a motion to defer?
Okay, I'll make that motion, yes, if I can get a seconder.
Seconded by Councillor Wilbur. We'll go to a vote.
And is that to defer 7.4 in its entirety?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I was interpreting.
So the next item is 7.5, a letter from Connie Patterson. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question through you to staff before I make a motion on the matter. This letter presumably is with respect to the lease agreement we have with the Exhibition Association and to fulfill their responsibility to inform us of any capital works they're doing there?
Yes, that is part of it. As a courtesy, we also, within the lease agreement itself, it speaks to capital projects. Ultimately, because the grounds are owned by the city of Dawson Creek, all capital works must be approved by the city of Dawson Creek.
Okay. So does this fulfill what we need, or will we seek more information once, if we approve this, or can we just receive for information and you guys can have those conversations?
I believe it would be appropriate to approve what is in the letter. So a motion that council would accept the presentation. All of it has to be done by code
Yeah.
and
So-
permitted and so on.
So I don't need to throw any caveat on there, like subject to appropriate permitting or anything like that. I can just say we. Okay,
I
well
think-
then I'll make the motion that we receive this and approve the projects proposed. I'm not sure how to word this. Obviously, as you said, it's a matter of permitting and what have you, but.
So we've got a motion to approve the
projects as presented
As presented, okay.
in the letter is what I would interpret.
We have a seconder. Councillor Wilbur. Is there any other discussion?
I'd like to speak to it.
Councillor Parslow.
So, these projects are being funded entirely or in part by the exhibition group, or is it the city funds that are flowing to them?
Through you, your worship, Mayor and Council proposed, I believe it was a $130,000 increase some time ago for the engineering of both the cow barn and the 4-H building. So that would be part of it included in here. That was a motion adopted probably 3 or 4 months ago now, I believe. But the cost of these buildings is borne by the Exhibition Association, who puts them in, and at the end of the day, because they sit on city property, they would become owned by the city per se.
Okay, the reason I'm asking the question is the very last item, renovation of the Apostolic Lighthouse building. And the flag that went up in my mind is, we are building, are they using city money to build something for a specific entity, right? And then I wondered if, I think there would be something wrong with that, right? But
Yes.
this is not using city taxpayers' money, then that's their business, not ours. Yeah.
Right, that is certainly our understanding. The buildings I talk about, it being the 4-H building, the cow barns, the new horse structures that they're talking about would be there. These food booths would be between the owner of the food booth, I would say, or the operator of it, and the Exhibition Association versus the city of Dawson Creek. What we've wanted is to ensure that the work that's done down there meets code. I think it's fair to say that, we've seen some things over the years that maybe weren't inspected, but now we've moved into this new lease where what we have is Connie is putting forward a letter saying, this is what we're going to do this year, seeking approval from yourselves.
I had one question on it. The memo wasn't dated, so is it still current?
Yes, it is. We just received this, I'm going to say within the last 2 weeks, in order for it to get on this. I didn't notice that there was no date on it. So we would, I can get the stamp date on which the day it came into city though.
Okay, any other discussion? We'll vote.
Oh, thanks. I've gone to sleep. I had early meetings.
It done?
It's done? Okay, and then we go to item 8, reports. 8.1 is the report number 22-044, the annual report. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 22-044 from the corporate officer regarding 2021 annual report be received. Further, that the Dawson Creek annual report for 2021 be made available to the public for review and comments. Further, that June 27th be designated as the annual meeting, at which time council will receive any input from the public before considering final approval of the 2021 annual report.
We've got a motion to approve. We have a seconder, Councillor Kempf. Any discussion? Councillor Earl?
Nothing in particular. Good work. Looks good. I perused it this weekend, but I'll give it one more review before the meeting on the 27th if this motion passes, and I'll let you know if I have any further feedback.
Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, I'm pleased to see we have some new photographs. People who left the community many years ago are no longer featured in here, so thanks for the updates and well laid out. I like the fact that it's reader friendly. It's good.
Any other discussion? We'll call a vote. So item 8.2, report number 22-051, variance permit. Councillor Parslow?
Your Worship, I
Oh.
I just have to leave. I got a conflict.
Oh, okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we need to remove Councillor Dober's voting card.
Take it out? Then hide it? No.
Okay, I move the report number 22051 from the Development Services Manager, redevelopment variance permit number 22-02 be received. Further, the development variance permit number 22-02 for 1136 916A Avenue. Is that? Thank you. I was wondering how the city had grown so much. I looked to Brenda and she just looked back at me, not showing any. So, thank you. 96A Avenue be issued, varying the minimum setback of principal buildings from the front parcel line from 7.5 meters to 6.99 meters, and varying the minimum setback of accessory buildings from interior side parcel line from 1.2 meters to 0.53 meters.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Earl? Any discussion? Councillor Wilbur?
Through you to staff, looking into the future I want to be clear that this isn't going to come back and bite us. So is this going to be something that 5, 10, 15, 20, 40 years down the road, somebody's not going to go, what were they thinking?
So through your worship, I mean, we are asking or recommending a variance in this case. It's still on the property, so it's not going beyond property lines. It's just reducing setbacks. This particular case has a laneway next to where the side yard variance is being requested, so that's good. So that provides additional space between the structure and the neighboring property. The front setback is being reduced to 6.99 meters, where in some new subdivisions we have reduced setbacks to 5.5 meters. So again, although we're requesting a variance or recommending a variance, that we don't foresee any future issues.
I just had a question. So were there building permits issued for those two the garage and the deck?
So through your worship, there was a building permit issued for the garage. Unfortunately, the owner at the time, it appears they did not call for any inspections. So otherwise, some of these issues may have been caught at that point in time. The covered porch, I'm not 100% sure if there was a permit pulled for that one or not.
So do the building permits now require a plan showing the boundaries and where the garage, for example, is going to sit?
Yeah, through your worship, it required it at this point in time as well. Because this was done building permit was in 2010, so we required it at that point, but they
Were you the
require
building
that.
inspector?
No.
Okay, I'm just wondering if it's, it seems to come up on a, I guess not a regular basis, but occasionally. And I guess a requirement to get a surveyor to locate the boundaries might be a little bit onerous, but it saves a lot of hassle in the long run.
So what we require is someone will come in and get a building permit for a home, garage, whichever, and they'll provide us a drawing of what they intend to do. And then before they pour concrete for footings or foundation is when we require the survey certificate. So what appeared to have happened in this case is they came and got the building permit. We never heard from them again. They proceeded to pour the concrete, but didn't, get us to inspect it or provide us a survey certificate.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Go to the vote. So it's carried. So the next item, so we can get Darcy back, I guess. The next item, 8.3, report number 22-052, is another variance. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 22-052 from the Development Services Manager regarding development variance permit 22-01 be received. Further, that development variance permit number 22-01 for 10424 and 10428 17th Street be issued, varying the maximum height of the principal building and structures from 17 meters to 24.7 meters.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Kempf, any discussion? I've got a question, Kevin, on if there's any implications with fires for the fire department with a 6-story building. I know we now can fight fire on a 4-story building, but a 6-story is quite high.
So through your worship, the building department did reach out to the fire department and have that discussion, and we were told that they have adequate resources to manage that.
Okay. Okay, we'll go to the vote.
There's nothing on the screen.
Vote
Brenda
is
was saying
about to
start.
start.
Oh, there it is. Get a start.
Okay, item 8.4. Report number 22-054. Third-party advertising. Councillor Dober.
Thank you, Worship. I'll remove that report number 22-054 from the Development Service Manager's reason third-party advertising in residential zones be received. Further, that council directs staff to leave sign regulation bylaw number 4369, 2018 unchanged and inform the owner of Camps Cuts Yard Maintenance that the request for driveway markers with their company name and number is not permitted. I'd like to speak to it if I get a second or two, Paul.
Okay.
Or your worship.
Councillor Wilbur seconds it. Councillor Dober.
I just had one question to staff. Like, I think I kind of understand why the original bylaw was put in, but maybe just clarification. And also, if there can't be third-party advertising in residential, like, you know, the Fluent signs and the TELUS security signs and all the other ones that are up all over, like, are they allowed?
So, through your worship, the third-party advertising, technically, those are not permitted either, because anything that is advertising something that is not at that location is third-party advertising. And so by rights, they shouldn't be permitted either. We had staff go through and do a bunch of research to see if there was what others were doing and if there was any way we could see managing something like this without opening the door too wide to having a proliferation of potential third-party advertising that we maybe didn't foresee. And we just couldn't see any way forward on that to be able to manage it without it becoming a real problem. But yeah, by rights, you know, all the home security systems wouldn't be permitted.
And what about like on a house that's being built by, Heggie Construction or Celtic Homes, like, and they have the sign up, like, technically that's not allowed either?
So during construction, it's nothing that we would pursue. The challenge is once construction is done, that's when it's no longer permitted. So during construction, you're going to have maybe not a sign there, maybe you would, but you're going to have vehicles that are typically have all their advertising on it and such. That's nothing that we would be interested in pursuing, obviously. But once it was completed, if there was a sign on the property that was stating that this was built by whoever, that becomes third-party advertising.
So unless like a local business is in their house, like you can't, like, because you said it has to be on the property. So if Sally's hair salon was in her house, she could have that sign up? Or? Yeah,
so you are permitted through the business licensing and the sign bylaw. If you have a home-based business, you're allowed to have a signage there for up to a certain size to advertise that.
And what was the reasoning why this bylaw was put in place? Like, was there signs all over the place? It was just to clean things up, or?
It's just simply to regulate signage generally, because as you can imagine, it can get away on you, and we have our own set of challenges with it. We have a lot of signs, but it's to try and regulate where, how much, how big, all of those signs go.
Thank you.
Councillor Parcel.
Well, this based upon what I've heard, I think the sign bylaw does need to be changed. Surely you're not going to have security signs like this house monitored by so-and-so band. I'm hearing staff saying that is in violation. I find that, I have a sign that says my, alarm system or something monitored by TELUS. I see them all over the place. So if they are technically in violation, I would suggest that we amend the bylaw to allow for that sort of thing.
So through your worship, that's certainly something that we could we can look at the exact language of the bylaw and see if that's something we could do.
Councillor Earl.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I mean, I understand from a practical standpoint, we're essentially saying, yes, these signs are in violation, but we don't have the, we can't and we don't really want to get into the business of managing it, so we'll leave it as is. It reminds me of the anti-idling discussion in downtown, where it was basically like, even if we did want to address the issue, there's no way to monitor it or manage it. So why would we do it? But from, to Councilor Parslo's point, from a strictly governance perspective, does it serve the public's interest for us to say, yes, these are all technically against the law, but we're not going to do anything about it because it's too hard? Or do we acknowledge there is a reasonable reason for somebody to have those signs? I mean, in the sense of security, home security, I mean, part of the value of having that sign there is it's a deterrent to people who might be breaking into your house. Is that something we take into account? Does that override the interest? And for that reason, do we allow for it as opposed to, can't? But once again, from what I understand with Cam's Cuts, the whole rationale for them placing those markers so that in the winter, they know where the driveway is, they know where stuff is, so they're not running into property owners' infrastructure. So I appreciate from a practical standpoint, managing this would be a nightmare, but I do see some value in finding a better way forward other than just saying, well, it's against the law and we're just going to let it slide because, we can't. And then I think it just sets kind of a bad precedent.
So through your worship, on the home security systems, I think you could definitely probably do some form of a text amendment to the bylaw that would be pretty clear that it's just for home security systems, and some very specifics about what kind of signage you could have for that. The request from this individual from Cam's Cuts, we have obviously no issue with the driveway markers. It was just about having the company
Signage,
name and the phone number on that, because looking at that as a business and how that might open up, you may have someone then advertising a small downtown local business on their front lawn. Like, how do you start to regulate those, right? And we looked at a number of things and it became challenging. So I think from the home security system, it's easier to tighten that up.
Okay.
Your Worship, just one other quick comment. So based on the ability to manage, we don't manage this. This is, council has chosen to go to a complaint-based response for our city. So as much as we would see out there, unless we receive a complaint, the direction we've received is that it's not an issue, which may be something council wants to rethink based on what goes on within our city. So just on the management question, we can certainly manage it. It would be an increased workload, which is not an issue for us to deal with, but we have been directed that unless we receive a complaint, that we don't respond.
Councillor Dober.
Thank you, Worship. I was going to have a comment about the complaint-based program because I don't, doesn't really make sense to me when you're trying to be in a proactive environment and be ahead and look at things and see it and get everybody on the same page. So I would be interested in, looking at that, how we change it. The other is just for my knowledge, I guess, I think of Cam's Cuts out there doing yard maintenance and my young business guy who's doing pretty well. Like, I think it's pretty cool that he wants to put a little sign out, like it's smart business. He's trying to improve his business. And I don't know if there's any way to change the bylaw that it, you could have a sign up for a certain amount of time, or, I don't know how that would work, but I mean, you see it at houses where this house was, the house decor was done by this company. Like, I don't know. I think it's just smart business. They're classy signs. It's not like, election time when we got a bunch of tacky election banners up on every thing. But do you know what I mean? Like, they're classy and it looks good.
So we can, it's certainly through the direction of yourselves that we implement policy changes within our sign bylaws or whatever. If council so wishes to entertain that, it would be within the last 12 to 14 months. We've just adjusted the sign bylaw, maybe 2 years. So we're happy to bring that back upon request if you have direction that you want to provide to ourselves to say, look, we would like a sign bylaw, to reflect A, B, and C. But this is the single part that we've dealt with based on the letter we received from Cam's Cuts.
Okay. And then, sorry, my last question to Cam's Cuts, was this him being proactive, asking the city if he could do it, or was there a complaint? Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Wilbur.
Thank you. I just love signs. One, just because I can be cheeky, I would argue that when it comes to alarm system signs, that business is being conducted on that property because they are monitoring the property. So whoever the company may be, they are conducting business for that homeowner on that property. Maybe a loophole. As far as I think it's a great idea that he's come up with. My issue is the city cannot promote one business over another. So if the design was a little different, I would have a different view of it. But in this case, it's self-promotion and it is third-party advertising. I think these markers are needed in our terrain in the winter. But I would like to encourage this gentleman to maybe change the design and bring it back so that it has a purpose. To me, I don't see any reason why he couldn't have something on the back, but that isn't being third-party advertising at the end of the driveway. So I think it's an ingenious idea. I think it's something we need, but unfortunately, it is promotion of one business over another. Thank you.
So the motion is to leave the sign bylaw as is. I tend to agree with leaving it. I mean, we've dealt with this sign bylaw so many times, and there's so many variations and so many new things that come up. And I like the, our response depends on complaints. So these things, they're very minor signs. I mean, Cam's signs is 90 square inch, which is, if you put it in a rectangle, it's about this big, which is the same as the Vivint signs or the TELUS signs. So to try and deal with every one of these, different sign variations, it adds to the workload of the staff and council. So I like the idea of leaving it the way it is. But I guess if we want to take a run at every variation that comes up, I guess we could. Anyways, is there any other discussion? Go for the vote. Done? One opposed. So it's carried. So that takes us to,
Defeated.
it's defeated.
There's only one opposed.
There was one opposed. We could go back and.
No, it's.
You want to redo it?
have time for coffee.
You can't find his card.
Yeah, Shaylee took my card.
So it's carried, okay.
Oh, it was in.
Okay.
I put it right back.
So here it says voting not started.
Take my file.
Okay, Counselor Earl, were you,
I was gonna move the recommendation on the next item.
oh, okay. So the
Proactive,
next
Your Worship.
item is 8.5, Report 22-058. Crushed gravel.
Thank you. I'll move the recommendation that report number 22-058 from the Director of Infrastructure regarding request for quotations 2022-19, 19 millimeter minus crushed gravel supply and delivered be received. Further, the council award request for quotations 2022-19, 19 millimeters minus crushed gravel supply and delivery to Dawson Sand and Gravel Limited for the bid price of $262,240 plus GST.
We have a seconder. Counselor Dober. Did you want to speak on it?
Yeah. Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question to staff. Maybe I missed it when I was reading through here, but I don't think I did. But is this number within our budget? Like, I know it says in there clearly that it came from the budget. I'm just wanting to make sure if it was where we budgeted or if it's over like everything else it has been this year. Because the lovely world we're in.
There we go. So through your worship, yes, it is within budget. Because there is actually, with this amount, there's two budgets at play. There's one capital budget, which is $250,000, and then we have an operational budget as well component within there. So, yeah, we are fine on that front. So,
Okay, thank you.
I had a question. Do you do any quality control on the bids? Like, do you go and look at the gravel, or do you have a record of the quality of it?
so through the tender, we issue a specification that we wanted to meet, and they'll have to provide us. So they bid on that, and then they'll have to provide us a sieve analysis showing that their product does meet that
Okay.
before we accept it.
Okay, any other discussion? We can go to the vote. So that was carried. Number 8.6, report number 22-059. Budget increase request for capital project WC 2151. Councillor Parslow.
I move the report number 22-059 from the Director of Infrastructure, budget increase request for capital project WC 2151 corrosion protection grounded replacement be received. Further, council approve an increase to the budget of this project from $45,000 to $60,000.
We have a seconder. Councillor Earl.
Can I speak to?
And you want to,
I would like staff to explain to me why it's gone up 45 to 60,000. Is it all material or is it wages or what is it? And why would the material cost increase, if you know?
So through your worship. So a couple of factors. So this project was originally identified in 2019, and talking with Devin, just kind of understanding why we didn't complete it back then. The issues were we were working on, we had a number of projects and this one just, we didn't get to it, unfortunately. So although there is a percentage-wise a significant increase of $45,000 to $60,000, $15,000, we were at that time working on multi-million-dollar projects at the water treatment plant and others. So unfortunately, it got set aside, and then we had the pandemic, and then when we got back to it, we see some price increases. What they're indicating is obviously a significant increase due to all the same issues that we're seeing everywhere with materials, labor, everything is increased. So in this particular case, I would suspect that it's probably primarily a material cost increase. Being that it's cathodic protection, it's probably a lot of wire, metals, and all those things have gone up significantly. So that's what I know.
So you're inferring that most of the increase is material cost.
I suspect so.
And I mean, I'm just, this is in my mind, I do not understand. Is either something wrong with our free enterprise system or some other reasons that I'm not aware of, because we heard the last council meeting or the council meeting before that, about the HVAC improvements at the Memorial Arena, right? And we only had budget for one component of it, right? And I do not understand, maybe my understanding of economics, which is, I thought, reasonably okay, is just so outdated. But I mean, I don't understand why there's such an increase in every sector, right? I mean, and I would like to understand why. And I don't think you guys will know any better than I, perhaps, in this regard. But can you imagine what's going to happen if this is to, we've got so many things hitting businesses who are struggling to, I'm talking about the small businesses, right? Tax increases, material costs, people having less discretionary funds, and it's just heading for a real stagnation in our economy, I think. And that's a real concern to me. Enough of my philosophizing.
Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worship. So I'll obviously support the motion because I think avoiding corrosion with the water lines is important. But I just a note on the sentence in under the scope of work and summary request, the project was not completed in 2019 due to weather and difficulty in the contractor's scheduling. So that just contrary to Kevin's explanation, just I had some questions around that if it was.
Yeah, so through your worship, but I mean, exactly that is, I think when we say the contractor scheduling, it probably didn't line up with our scheduling and what we were working on as well. So, like you say, unfortunate, it didn't get done. And I understand that it is an increase, but it's where we're at the moment, so.
No, fair enough. I mean, the question for when there's a component around a contractor, I mean, if it didn't happen, it didn't happen, but you're always, well, if we'd gone with the second bid for $5,000 more, might have it got done. But I guess that's hypothetical at this point. And no, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll go to the vote. It's carried. So the Next item is 8.7, report number 22-060, the budget variance report. Councillor Dober,
I'll make a motion that report number 22-060 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the actual to budget variance report for period ending March 31st, 2022 be received for information.
who a seconder? Councillor Earl. Any discussion?
It's for information, there's no discussion.
Councillor Dober, did you have comments?
It's for information.
No discussion.
Oh, it's for information, sorry. Okay, so we go to the vote.
I did that for Charlie.
See what I'm going to do, Dawson? Vote against it. I had some questions.
You're an arsonist.
You said you wanted the meeting to be short, so.
Yes, but this, money matters. I even
Okay.
sacrifice time for it.
It's good? So, item bylaws, item 9.1. Enforcement amendment bylaw for adoption. Councillor Dober, seconded by Councillor Wilbur. It's good. 9.2, report number 22-055, mobile food vendors. Councillor Wilbur.
Thank you. I will move the recommendation that report number 22-055 from the Development Service Manager, mobile food vendors, fees and charges bylaw amendment, bylaw number 4524-2022 be received. Further, that the fees and charges bylaw amendment, bylaw number 4524-2022 be given the first three readings. Further, that the mobile food vendor service procedures manual be updated to allow mobile food vendors to operate at the following locations: all city parks that have off-street parking, the skateboard park arena parking lot, 1107 106th Avenue from May 1st to August 31st, and commercial and industrial zone properties where the property owners give consent.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Parslow. Any discussion? Councillor Wilbur?
Thank you to staff one for bringing the report forward, but I think this allows for our local vendors to be out there during our tourist summer months, but also brings us in line with what other communities are charging for their mobile food vendors, and increases the opportunity of where they can be. So that's why I moved the motion. And I do understand there are other businesses that are in the food industry that pay taxes. They're around all year. These are small mom and pop businesses that have a very short season, and it's great that they have the ability to put this out there, but also the areas that we're allowing them aren't conflicting with downtown or other areas where our restaurants are. So, thank you.
Councillor Dober?
Thank you, Worship. This might be to staff, but a little bit on what Chaley was saying. Just wondering why the skateboard park and the arena parking is only May 1st, August 31st. I'm assuming it maybe has something to do with the concession in there, but if we're doing that for the concession and there's a restaurant around the corner, why are we making an exception to that one? Is it something in the lease because of that, or just curious?
Through your worship, a couple of reasons. The skateboard park also is the season when it would happen and the weather and before
Yeah.
school comes out as well. Besides that, we also worked with the groups that were around there to it'd be a good time for them to happen. So
Okay.
with working with them. But I mean, we don't want to necessarily go all winter time and that kind of stuff as well. Skate
No.
park not going, so the season, when the season is from May to August.
So it wasn't just about like when the concession operates?
No, it was
In the arena.
both reasons, so.
Okay. Thank you.
I've got a question. In the NAR park, is there some control that all 11 food vendors may go in there on a Saturday morning at their own discretion?
So through your worship, what we wanted to do is with anything on city property that they would have to come and get permission from us and essentially have that discussion, because we want to ensure that at the NAR park, for instance, if they were to go there, that they didn't just fill the parking lot and not enable, visitors, tourists able to get in there. So we would have that option to say, park here, park there, wherever, to ensure that it maintains that access for those. So again, trying to open it up, but still have some flexibility and some thought to ensuring it doesn't create us an issue.
And this will be open for consultation for businesses not to comment? As a bylaw?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, it is available for public comment because it is going to be brought back to the next meeting for adoption.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? We can go to a vote. Okay, item 9.3, report number 22-048, election required bylaws. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that council provide the first three readings for the following bylaws that relate to municipal elections to be held in the city of Dawson Creek. Number 1, the election and assent voting bylaw number 4527/2022. Number 2, the automated vote counting system authorization and procedure bylaw number 4526/2022. And 3, the sign regulation amendment bylaw number 4532/2022. Further, that the October 24, 2022 regular meeting of council be rescheduled to October 17, 2022 in order to accommodate the 2022 regional council orientation.
We have a seconder, Councillor Wilbur. And Councillor Wilbur.
Thank you. Through you, Your Worship, to staff. There's new rules for this election saying that you can start advertising July 18th, and there's some third-party aspects to that. Do we need to have that incorporated in here, or is that separate?
July?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm not aware of the new regulations for July.
No.
I tripped over them, but we may want to look. So there is new legislation saying that as of July 18th, you can start advertising. And there's some further restrictions on third-party participation.
We will check into that, Brenda. I mean, that seems before the nomination period is even
That's why I'm asking. 'Cause
completed,
it's-
which yeah, we'll check on that and make sure that whatever we have as a bylaw meets with the legal requirements under the charter and the government. So.
And I don't know if it's something just for Lower Mainland, but maybe that's the push behind it, but it was something that came up.
They are special.
They are nice people.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the pre-campaign period starts July, but the election period is different than,
Okay.
the election period starts September 17th.
So there is a piece about advertising.
Yeah, which, so this bylaw, the election signage would be able to be posted September 17th to October 17th.
Thank you.
Good. Councillor Parslow?
Well, I was wondering if we should defer this question so we have absolute clarification. What is staff's recommendation?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the third-party advertising rules, we do have it up on the screen here. The new rules for third-party sponsors are in effect for the 2022 general local elections. There are now limits placed on sponsorship contributions made by eligible individuals to third-party sponsors. For 2022, an eligible individual may give a total of $1,250 to each third-party sponsor. The sponsorship contribution limit is adjusted at the start of each calendar year. For the 2022 general local elections, there will be a pre-campaign period beginning on July 18th and ending at the start of the campaign period. Third-party advertising rules will apply during this period, and any third-party sponsoring election advertising during this time must be registered with Elections BC and disclose the advertising expenses within 90 days after the general day for the election. I believe the bylaw considered all of these regulations, these new regulations, so I don't feel that it needs to be deferred to another meeting. If council's wish is that, we could have you provide first and second reading and then bring it back for third. If there's any amendments, up to council.
Do we need to, like, it's all spelled out by the provincial government, so it's just a matter of ensuring that everybody is aware of it, whether we advertise it on the website or I guess we'd go by our new advertising policy. So there's probably no need to delay it. Any other discussion? Oh, Councillor Wilbur?
Nope. Oh, sorry, nope.
Okay, so we'll go to the vote. Okay, that brings us to mayor's business and,
9.4.
oh, 9.4. Too quick here. So 9.4 is report number 22-049, public notice bylaw. Councillor Parslow.
Report number 22-049, Republic Notice Bylaw, number 4521, 2022, from the Deputy Corporate Officer be received. Further, the Public Notice Bylaw number 4521, 2022 be given first three readings.
We have seconder, Councillor Dober. Councillor Parslow, you want to speak?
No, I think it's self-explanatory in the summary that Joanne's provided, and something we have to comply with.
Okay, we can go to the vote. So now we're at mayor's business. Item 10.1, memo. This item was did you turn it off?
Yes, she did. It's her fault. She tried to blame it. Coffee time.
Coffee break, 7 minutes.
So, 7-minute coffee break? Okay,
Starting 4
or
minutes
6,
ago.
4, yeah. Yeah, we're already
Your
late.
mic's not up, Parcel, we're done.
So the next item is CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not a lot to report today. Really, I want to say thank you to all the community groups who were out doing city cleanup. I know that members of council, members of our staff were out. Numerous different community groups were out. Also to the groups that were out cleaning rocks off of people's yards for seniors and disabled. We've, done that for many years. We're going to look at that. Encourage people, if you are in need of that service, to call. If you are not a senior or disabled, please don't call and try and get on the list, as occurred this year. So we are going to try not to make it too cumbersome for people. It's worked well in the past. There's always somebody that'll try and stretch the envelope. So we will deal with that as it arises. But overall, again, we go through our winters, the garbage accumulates under the snow, we get out there, we clean up, it improves not just the look of our community, but the quality of life. A clean city is one that people enjoy. So a huge thank you really is all I wanted to say to the people that were out there and able to participate. We do it once a year as a mass cleanup, but I always encourage people, never be afraid to pick up garbage if you're walking by it. It always helps keep the community clean, and I know that our staff in the city are focused on that as well. And whether they're in the park cutting grass, whether we have a public works crew out, we are all focused on ensuring that we pick up anything that shouldn't be there. So thank you.
So the diary, should we do anything with it?
I just wanted one comment.
Oh, sorry.
Just on the cleanup and then the ongoing part of the cleanup, does the city have like an abundance of like garbage cans? I just know I do that trail, the rotary trail from end to end a lot, and there's always a lot of garbage. Not a lot, but there is down in there, but there's no real trash cans along the walk. Like if we had some extras to put a couple in there, would it maybe encourage people to walk the extra little bit to put it in?
We can certainly look at that and evaluate where they're at. I know there's some along the paths, but I think what I'm hearing is more would help. It is discouraging when people can't carry their garbage and throw it in a park. I would love to, not respond to them,
Yeah.
but we will look at the ability to make sure we have the proper allocation of garbage cans out there so that, like I said, it gives the people the option to put it in a garbage can. Hard to believe they need the option, but for those that do, we'll ensure there's enough garbage cans out there.
I think part of where I see it more is between 15th and Central. So it might be not putting it on the teenagers or anything, but it might be more of them in and out of there, that there's more traffic in that area. So
Okay.
There's a couple bench areas there to have a garbage can might help, but.
We'll look at that. Thank you, Councillor.
Okay. So the diary, do we?
Nothing new to report on the diary, Your
and
Worship.
The consent calendar, do we vote on it? So we need a motion to receive for information? Councillor Kempf, a seconder, Councillor Earl. The vote. It's carried. Strategic priorities.
Nothing to report on that, Your Worship, or Mr. Chair.
Media question period. And we'll go to the committee of the whole reports. And I see the staff sergeant is here, so we'll start with 16-1 report from the staff sergeant.
Good morning. I could hear All good there? Perfect. Well, good morning, Your Worship and Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today. So I'm here to provide you the policing report for the month of April. I'll start off with resourcing. For April, we had no movement in or out of the detachment. We did have another recruit and a new corporal show up in May, and obviously I'll report that to you in the next month, but since we're here, I'll let you know. The first week of May, we did receive another recruit and a corporal. They're now in Dawson Creek and working, so that puts us at operating with 3 soft or temporary vacancies, no hard vacancies, and 2 surplus to establishment positions. So surplus to establishment means I've brought members in because I'm anticipating some members leaving here soon. And because of my soft vacancies, which are long-term, I can afford to do that without overbilling the community. So that puts us with 3 soft vacancies and 2 surplus to positions. I'm down 1 position right now, so much better off than I've ever been. So I did make 1 position here in the last, or 1 change to positions in the last month. To my organizational structure, which involved moving one of my GIS positions into my frontline general duty positions. So I went from having a 5 position plainclothes unit to 4, and I moved that other position to my front line to give me a flush 4 watches of 6 members. And the reason I did that is members on my front line means more visibility in town, more traffic stops in town. You'll see more police officers working every single day because that's my frontline members. So I flushed them out a little bit, where previously I had 3 watches of 6 and 1 watch of 5, and now 4 watches of 6 members. So that means more members on the road every day. So between the periods of January 1st to April 30th, there's been a total of 2,560 calls for service. That's down from last year when we had 2,739, or a decrease of about 7%. So we're down 7% from last year. Of those, 82% were within the city and 18% within the rural area. That's a little higher than I've reported to you over the last 4 years that I've been here. Usually the split is around 79-21 or 80-20. So we're getting a little bit more now in the city than we have in the past, and less in the rural area. So comparative to last year for the same time period, that equates to a decrease of calls for service within the city of 6% and a decrease in our rural area of 10%. Our specific crime trends, what we saw over April, or year to date, I guess, up to April, the end of April, is we're seeing a little bit of an increase in our property crimes, specifically in the theft of vehicle, theft from vehicle. Our thefts are break and enters. Break and enter to business being the largest increase, or pardon me, just straight thefts of an increase of 67%, and a break and enter to business being an increase of 53%. But we also did see some significant decreases in other areas, such as sex assaults, a decrease of 59%. Drug possession, drug trafficking, a decrease of 59%. I also throw in there, which I don't usually report to you in our overdoses, but so far this year we're seeing a decrease of 77% over last year. So a pretty significant decrease in drug overdoses or drug-related overdoses. Impaireds down 25%, and then COVID-related calls, because we don't have any provincial health order restrictions in place right now. Obviously, we're seeing a lot less COVID-related calls than we did last year, so that they're down about 97% from last year. So we finally have our policing priorities in place for the year, and the reason that we're a little bit late coming to the game is, again, because we operate on the fiscal calendar, so we start them in April 1st. So the policing priorities that we've come up with this year is to reduce persons crimes by 7% and focus on public safety. So year over year, we've seen assaults climb, albeit very slowly, but they keep climbing every single year. And it's about time to start looking at that and find out why. So we made that a priority this year, and one of the first things that we need to do is conduct an administrative review to find out why they're rising, or what category of assaults is climbing, whether that's domestic assaults or stranger assaults or child assaults, elder assaults. So we need to kind of review the files over the last few years to find out what area of assaults is increasing, and then come up with a plan to address it. We'll continue with our quarterly media releases intended to reduce intimate partner violence. So you may remember last year, we put out some information on how to run a criminal records check on someone that perhaps you're going to potentially date or go out with and start a relationship with. There's actually avenues or programs out there that you can use to run someone's criminal record check, but so you're not going out with a complete stranger and you have some idea on their background. So we sent that out last year, and we'll continue doing that through this year to give some tips and tricks on how not to become a victim of domestic violence. The second priority that we established this year was accountability and good governance. And this is a little bit different one than we've had in years past. And that's because I want to make sure that we're providing the proper service to the community that we're working in. And the way to measure that, because it was very difficult for me to identify how we're going to measure accountability and good governance, we decided to do that through public complaints. We don't get a whole lot of public complaints, probably I'd say less than 30 every year. And with the amount of calls that we get every year, which is around 9,000, there's not a whole lot of complaints. But I needed some way to measure accountability and good governance, so I decided to do it through public complaints, and we'll try and reduce those public complaints by 25%. And mostly the way that we do that is being proactive and reaching out to people that have perhaps a concern with the level of policing that they were provided or the response of our officers. So we'll be a little bit more proactive in getting a hold of those people that are putting in complaints to avoid the public complaint being put in the first place. Finally, the third priority and the final one is employee excellence and workplace culture. Again, a little bit different from the previous years. I wanted to focus a little bit more on my own staff, both my members and my administrative clerical staff, because if they're happy at work and they're doing a great job, their productivity is increased and they're going to be doing providing a better service to the community. So to do that, a lot of the members are carrying, particularly so the members carry some mental stress dealing with some of the calls that we deal with, because I'm sure you can imagine, when an officer goes in the morning to a fatal crash and has to pull a child out of the wreckage, and then has to go to perhaps a shoplifting call at Walmart, they're not really in the best mindset or the frame of mind to be dealing with some of these calls. And so it was important for us to set up some kind of employee wellness or mental health at the detachment. And we've started now over the last few months bringing a therapist in once a month to encourage group therapy sessions for our officers and our first responders. And it's been very well reported on. So we'll continue doing that through the year and continue supporting our members. Pending any questions, that's all I have for you.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Councillor Dober?
Thank you. Thanks for the report, Damon. Or Staff Sergeant. I just wanted to say that we're lucky to have you in our community, and I know a little bit what you're talking about with bringing in somebody to work with the officers and stuff. It's just awesome to see that you care that much about them and are going to those lengths to do that to make them better in their personal lives, but also to help deal with. I could only imagine some of the stuff that they got to deal with. So I just wanted to thank you, and it's nice to hear and see. And then one other thing, maybe I missed it in your presentation, but have you made any headway with like the officers on the pedal bikes, on bikes?
We have, first of all, I'll say thank you, and I'll make sure I pass that on to the members and stuff. The bikes, yes. So we have, training was really shut down the last 2 years. So it was difficult. I don't know why we have to receive a course to ride a bike. That's not my decision, but we do. It's actually a very intense course apparently. So how to mount and dismount a bike at 20 miles an hour type thing. So, but we do have to have the training first. So training is back up this year. And we actually have a member that's transferred in here recently that is already bike trained. So that gives us now 2 bike trained members. We're also sending that member away here in the next couple of weeks to be an instructor. So I can actually do the training here locally myself, and then I'm gonna have everybody bike trained. We already have the equipment and the bikes from previous years, I guess. There used to be a bike program here in town. So we already have the equipment, just not the members trained, and I hope to have that done in the next month or so. So you should soon see officers on bicycles downtown, I hope. So
perfect. Thank you.
Councillor Earl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The two-seaters.
Yeah, thank you, and I look forward to the shorts that come along with
Yep,
bike.
there is shorts, actually.
yeah.
You're joking, but you're.
Yeah, no,
there
I'm
is
not
shorts,
joking.
so-
It's going to
Yeah.
be glorious. So obviously, looking at the crime trends, distressing to see an increase in property crime. But if past is prologue, I assume a lot of that crime could be prevented if people were more diligent in securing their property.
Yeah, it is a little frustrating. Even this morning, we've had 3 calls of thefts from vehicles that I heard before I came over here, all of which were unlocked and left open
Yeah.
with wallets and purses left in them. So it is preventable for sure.
And I know we had the program a few years back where we were putting tags on cars to let people, as like obviously we would all love to live in a world where we didn't have to lock our doors, but it's not the world we currently live in. And for those who are concerned about the level of support you get, do bear in mind that the more time and energy and resources our local detachment has to expend chasing down people who are picking low-hanging fruit because it wasn't locked, the less they have to dedicate to the issues you'd have them or like them to be focusing on. So I just wanted to give you a chance to highlight that. Everybody lock your stuff up so we can, less investigation, more bike cops.
Yeah, it sounds great. An officer actually was walking to work last week and told me that right in front of him, someone else was walking in front of him the same way and walked into a yard, grabbed a bicycle that was on the front yard and started pedaling away. So he chased him down on feet and made him put the bike back. But again, it's a crime of opportunity. A bike's just sitting there. It's not locked up. It's not hidden from view. So some little actions like that would definitely lessen the amount of calls that we're getting for property-related crimes. So you're referring to the SPOT program where we were putting spot checks on cars. I really actually enjoyed that program. Mm-hmm. And we passed it over to Citizens on Patrol because we started it. Mm-hmm. And to keep it ongoing, we passed over to Citizens on Patrol while they were out on the patrols to do the checks, on a couple blocks, residential blocks in town every night. COVID, unfortunately, has really shut down cops and Rural Crime Watch, but they're just starting to get ramped back up again, and we'll get that program up and running again. So.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, well, I second what Darcy said about being proactive in what you've done there.
Thank you.
Regard the mental health for sure. A suggestion. I'd like to see our bicycles be upgraded to electric bikes. I have been seriously considering one. My friends in Prince George all have them. And I think that would be kind of nice. I mean, you can easily, I think they're regulated now in Canada to a maximum of 35 kilometers an hour or something, but that would take some people by surprise, wouldn't it?
I'm sure the officers would enjoy it too.
I think you would.
Yeah.
So maybe you can pioneer that. We be the first detachment to equip people with electric bikes.
Yeah, it sounds great to me. Every year we actually do apply for grant opportunities to make some extraordinary purchases of equipment that we may not, necessarily make through our other funding lines. And that would be an opportunity for us to make a grant funding request, I think, for some electric bikes. And I completely agree with you. It's a great idea. So.
Well, I mean, where my daughter lives in Kelowna, by the top of I call it a major hill, I was wondering how these people were just going right up the, going up 8th Street. It'd be quite something to see. One more, well, that's a serious suggestion, actually. I was going to say, onto a serious topic. So 6 frontline people per shift. Do you got any stats on when you take into consideration courses, holidays, how many are actually there on average? About, is it 5 or 4 point something?
Yeah, even today, I think we have 5 of 6 on right now. Mm-hmm. And then keep in mind, again, they're supported by our plainclothes units. So we also have 3 plainclothes unit members in with them. We also have senior management staff, myself and my 2 sergeants. So No, I think, with having 6 on per watch, I think, a minimum, our minimum level is 4. So when I have 6 on my front line, my minimum operating standard is 4 members. I'll never go below that. So whether they're and the commanders that are running those watches know that. So they're only allowed to release someone for holidays or for course, as long as they're not going below that 4 threshold.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
Thank you.
you're very welcome.
Thanks.
Take care. I did write down electric bicycles too, so I'll take that back.
I can recommend a brand, by the way, if you want.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You can get a good one for $2,500 out of Vancouver.
Funded from the federal.
Yeah.
Charlie's trying to get an extra one on shorts, like.
So our next 16-2 is Dustin from the Ovintiv Center. I saw him walk by there, so.
He knows I gave
This
him
is
the,
at 6:20.
I gave him the
My
thing.
grandson, before he goes to school.
Oh, he's got company coming in.
So this is how high she lives up. Bethany.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning. All right, well, I'm gonna pass this over to Steph to start us off today.
Sure. So thanks for having us. It's great that we actually have events to report on again. We kind of hit the ground running middle of April, and we've had events or multiple events every week for 9 weeks. So we're tired, but we're really thankful that we're back. So we just wanted to share some kind of statistics on the events that we've had this spring. So we started middle of April with the Exhibition Association Spring Rodeo. So first time the event had been back since 2015. That was when we had that massive dump of snow. We moved the dance portion inside with 3 days notice. They had higher ticket sales than in 2015. We sold out the Saturday portion of the dance. So great event for us and for Connie and her team there. The following weekend, we moved into 2 nights, sold out of Johnny Reed. It was kind of our first full seated event in Co-op Mercer Hall, which really showed us the capabilities of that space. So the programming for that space continues to be really busy, but then also looking into additional events and concerts for the fall and the winter for there as well. And then the Vintage Market, the spring edition, it was a 2-day event over Mother's Day. So we sold as many tickets as the Christmas edition of that event. It was a great event, which is, I would say the Christmas edition is kind of a signature event for the region. It's super popular. She always sells out of space for vendors. So to see the spring edition, which is just in the upper lobby, be on par with that one, which takes place on the event floor, is really amazing to see. And then we had Lobster Fest that weekend as well. Great to work with Paul and the Oilmans again. And then as Paul mentioned, kind of record year for fundraising through the auctions for them. Rolled into 2 nights of sold out monster trucks as well. And then interestingly, we were the promoter's last show before the COVID shutdown, and then his first show back. So he loves coming to Dawson Creek. He mentioned it's like a family here. So it's the same promoter that's put on all the monster truck shows. So he will be back, I'm sure. And then we just had another Craft Island Comedy Night. We had the Northern Lights College Awards Gala. And then Saturday we had the Unconventional Medium. Those are all in Co-op Mercer Hall and all really good, positive events. So overall, it's been really encouraging to know that the people of the region haven't forgotten about us. They're continuing to support our events and most importantly, supporting our local promoters. So Oilmans, you were back with a bang, the Vintage Show, all of those kinds of events. So it's nice to see that people are back out and wanting to be out. So yeah, really, really good spring for us. Looking into the summer, so we're working on Brett Kissel. We're about 2 weeks out from that. So he's back out. I think he had to take a few weeks off. He was having some vocal cord issues. So he'll be here in 2 weeks, which is great. The Dawson Creek Secondary graduation ceremony and prom are back at the event center. So red carpet, of course, will be at the park, but those 2 events are coming back on June 17th and 18th, which is great. A lot of corporate meetings that we continue to work on. The Mile Zero Cruisers, their summer event is back in July. And then a lot of private rentals as well. Every week we're continuing to quote events, place holds in our calendar. And through the fall and the winter, we have very few weekend openings, which is good. So every week, if everything confirms, we'll have stuff happening at the event center, which is really nice to see. And then finally, it's spring, so community programming has kind of slowed down for the event center as things have moved back outside or back into the Akin Arena. But we did have some preschool events. The yoga was still happening, and then we had that spring break archery camp on the event floor as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephanie. As you can hear, a number of different events over the past couple of months. But as Stephanie mentioned, great to see everybody kind of come back out and support the different types of events, whether they're small ones in Colt Mercer Hall or the larger ones like monster trucks. Another aspect of the business that has also picked up is our regional ticketing program. So as you may have remembered from a couple of years ago, we utilize our professional ticketing service and marketing services out into the community and region. Any other event organizers can utilize this ticketing program, and it's another revenue stream that the city sees through the building. I also heard in an earlier discussion this morning about the topic of inflation and costs. Those are challenges that we face on a weekly basis of running the event center on your behalf. You know, things like utility costs continue to increase. We provide Blair and Shante with a detailed utility report on an annual basis of how we're mitigating those costs. Other things such as minimum wage, as you're well known. Since we were shut down a couple of years ago, minimum wage has increased 2 times over, as well as we're continuing to work with all of our promoters on a local, regional, and national level of bringing tours through British Columbia and into Dawson Creek. So those are some of the continued challenges of the business that we continue to work forward with, but they're things that we're trying to mitigate as we look to lock down some events for later this fall and into 2023. Jumping over onto the tourism side of the report, as reported in the past couple Cal reports, the trends for visitation to the miles around the city and the Alaska Highway is down compared to pre-pandemic visitation levels. It was kind of great to see this past week as we kind of opened up 7 days a week at the visitor center and May long weekend. Travel did pick up. We're averaging about 95 people a day since last Tuesday, so that is an increase compared to previous months. We were able to secure our summer grants program through federal grant aid. That helps with subsidizing our summer staff for the summer. We were able to hire 4 local students that returned to Dawson Creek. So we're fully staffed and ready to go for the summer. They've gone through their training. They've gone out into the community a little. And with this being National Tourism Week this week, they have plans to mobilize utilizing the trailer and visiting businesses as well. Since the last time we were here to report, our number of group tours has actually increased from 15 RV tours up to 21. So that's a positive increase, as well as there's 7 planned bus tours coming through Dawson Creek this summer. A few other things that we've kind of been working on, a number of different educational materials, both for stakeholders, but also working closely with Community Services Department on all of the things that Tourism Dawson Creek does, things about the visitor center. We have a meeting later this afternoon in regards to the recreational master plan. So all of those kind of, great long-term planning for the community. I've also included some other destination marketing and development groups and initiatives that Tourism Dawson Creek works on a regular basis, weekly, monthly, in collaboration with our other community partners here in the region to further promote Dawson Creek and the Alaska Highway. With that, those are some of the highlights from the past little while. But if council has any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Councillor Dober?
Thanks, Stephanie and Dustin. That was great. It's nice to see the event center back open and that influx of people it brings to town. Just a question with your numbers on the tourism on the amount of people coming through here. So you said after May long weekend we've went to 7 days a week. What are our hours prior to that?
So we're going 9 to 5 to Tuesday through Saturday.
So to see a huge influx of people and travel could more so just be that we're open?
It could be that. It could be the season too.
Yeah.
Going back pre-pandemic, and this is going back years ago.
Yeah.
I recall that the visitor season often started a little bit earlier, right? So a couple weeks earlier, being end of April, beginning of May. But now with people kind of waiting to see, when they should start their trip. Could be impact of that as well.
Okay. And then is this like the hours like May long going full time? Is that kind of how it always has been in Dawson Creek?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we keep those hours through August and usually change them back over after the Labor Day long weekend.
Okay.
Pending the staff going back to
Yeah.
university and everything like that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I've got a question about the RV tours and the bus tours. What's the typical duration of their stay here?
It very much ranges. So on the caravan group tours, Dawson Creek is a launching pad of their Alaska Highway tour. So they start here. So some of the individuals could show up because they're coming from all over, the country or sometimes across North America. So they could show up 4 days in advance of the actual tour guide showing up. And then they're here for, a day, 2 days, and then they head north from there. So that ranges quite a bit. And they stay at a couple, local RV parks, go out, spend money in the community. Some of the guides that have been here multiple years in a row with these different tour groups, they know to stop at the butcher block to fill up, their coolers and freezers and that before heading up the highway. In terms of the bus tours, there's a couple of these tours that we've convinced to stay in Dawson Creek over the years, but for the most part, the other 5, it's a stopping point to the next destination. So they're here for, 2.5 hours, almost like a cruise stopping in a port for an afternoon, right? And the reason of convincing them, and it has taken time, is that some of these itineraries that these companies have used for the past 20, 30 years have stayed the same. So some of the communities in the region or on the route, Edmonton, for one of them, is a stopping point. And then that next travel stop could either be Grand Prairie or Dawson Creek, right? So if whichever community had the most accommodation inventory at a given time years ago, we're kind of that next stop on their trip.
Okay, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do you want to ask them questions, or is your thing just still on?
I just wanted to see if you would notice it.
So the next one, 16.3, is development services.
See the one I took out.
One didn't come out.
No, and they're like a pool. Pretty much. Don't put your hands down, Bill.
That's right. They're clean now. Joe, did you bring them?
Welcome to your puddle. Do I get water wings or anything? No, you got it. No, you're good. Okay,
Only touch one area. So do it all
not
again.
going to touch anything. Morning, everyone. I'll be presenting the Committee of the Whole report for Development Services. I'm going to try to be brief and just touch base on a few items here. Recycling, staff are now trained to receive data, to review the data received from the Waste Management Smart Truck technology. We had 6 instances of contamination in the April 25th to 29th recycling week, suggesting that the on-the-ground auditing is effective. So the number of bins being turned is trending downward. The contamination is typically soft plastics, and we're waiting for Recycle BC to see what recycling contamination levels are. In regards to the building department, we've had numerous permit inquiries. They're trending towards residential renovations and commercial tenant improvements. We have low construction numbers in our new home construction. Reasoning, we believe that's because of the cost of materials and lead times. In some instances, we've heard of materials for HVAC equipment taking up to 6 months. Moving on to bylaw, they're continuing to work on educating the public regarding recycling, issuing warnings and fines as required. Again, this multi-pronged approach with auditing, the smart truck technology, and educating the public appears to be working to reduce our contamination levels. Capital Works projects, can never pronounce it right. Camarlo started last week. 94th and 96th this week are firing up. They're going to be working on getting the lanes graded with some millings on those projects, so the residents have some parking because the avenues and the streets won't be necessarily accessible due to construction. Emergency management. We had a cross-sectional data sharing session with some of the local insurance providers. Staff provided an update on flood mitigation projects to date, and the insurance providers shared some home insurance processes and information pertaining to past events. News and noteworthy, I'm going to go back to recycling. Although we're not 100% sure of the contamination levels because we haven't received them from Recycling BC, we're anticipating that those levels in the recycling stream have been substantially reduced. So yeah, there's the Coles notes on our department. Any questions?
Councillor Parslow.
The Kamalo Road, when was that road put in? I mean, because that's a complete rebuild that's going on.
I'll let Kevin speak to that.
So through your worship, so Camarlo was constructed in the early 80s.
Really?
I believe. Okay. And so we're doing total reconstruction because we are doing some upgrades to storm sewers underground, and just the amount of disturbance would be significant. Secondly, the geotech has indicated that we should do that. What we're finding as we've just started milling and getting into it is that the material underneath is pretty saturated. So obviously a lot of groundwater retaining in there, and as you'd expect from something that was built 40 plus years ago, is just the specifications are different. So we see the gravel materials aren't maybe what we'd be using today either. So yeah, it all contributes to maybe why it didn't, or why it was in the shape it was.
Okay. Just a refresher, Bill, modular homes, the 2 permits for those. I know I should know this, but I've forgotten.
It wasn't.
Do we allow modular homes? Are there any restrictions on where modular homes can be placed in the city?
Are you referring to the modular buildings and the?
Yeah, sorry, buildings. Yeah, I assume they were homes. No.
Those are portable school structures for Canelta and Crescent
Thank
Park.
you. Okay. But still, just why I raised the question, do we have restrictions on modular homes in this community? Where they may be built or
They're allowed in
installed?
certain zones.
Yeah.
And they need to follow a CSA standard, the CSA Z240 standard. So if that structure has the demarcation on there, we require that during building permitting. Then there's also certain requirements for siting the building. There can be cribbing and engineered piles. There's a few different ways to
But
anchor them. and
there's
set
fairly
them.
extensive, there's only a few areas in town where they wouldn't be allowed to be put in?
I believe it's through the RS3 zones. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And those, I thought those others were built residential, but they're classrooms, eh?
Yeah, correct.
Councillor Dober?
Thank you. Thanks for the report, Bill. I just had one question. Just under bylaw, because we work on a complaint-based system, how many bylaw officers do we have? And then how busy are they dealing with complaints? Like, is it they're ran off their feet, or is it just the odd complaint here or there?
We have two bylaw officers. Two bylaw officers that deal with complaints. Our building inspectors are also sworn in as bylaw officers, but that's to enforce the building bylaw, sign bylaws, and that sort of thing. And it depends day to day, week to week as to complaints. We typically get more complaints, when the snow is melting, and in summer with tall weeds and grass and that sort of thing. So it's not really a consistency. It depends on the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, financial services.
Terry will present this report on behalf of Michelle today.
Good morning. As Blair said, I will be presenting the Committee of the Whole report for Finance. So a couple things to note. Peace River Agreement money we received at the end of April, so that's positive. Helps with cash flow. We did our system rollover, which is quite a to-do in our accounting software. So that is completed with no errors or problems, so that was a great thing. Water sales upgrades. So Kevin might have to help me on this, but we have, I do believe, converted Alaska Avenue is 100% converted to the new system. And 116th is now 100% complete. We've put signs at both locations just so people don't wait in line and realize when they get to the pump that they can't use their fob. So we figured we'd be proactive and put signs out. Finance has been very busy. Most people seem to be responding to it well, so that's a positive. The LGDE, the local government data entry, has been completed. So once I submit the SOFI and the annual report has 30 days, we are done all our legislated requirements. So I'm happy about that. Tax department. So 5,898 taxes notices went out on the 13th. We've seen quite a few people already come in paying their taxes, so that's a positive. And as of May 15th, 71 people had already claimed their homeowner grants. Suncorp valuations, this is the city's appraiser, so they will be coming to inspect properties soon. There was a rescheduling issue, so they were supposed to be here May 16th to 19th, but they had to reschedule, so they will be coming within the next, I think, 3 weeks to appraise our properties for insurance purposes for the 2023 budget. Any questions?
Councillor Parslow.
Well, I thought this is an opportunity for me to ask the questions I would have been asked in the first part of the meeting, but I was cut off at the knees by a trusted colleague to my left. to my far left, actually. So, Terry, the swimming pool, I'm just going on memory here. I don't have that report in front of me, although I could quickly access it. But I recall reading that the swimming pool revenue was 22% for the first quarter. So the question I was going to ask was the expected revenue, was that calculated based upon the current schedule or the old full-time schedule? Because if it's 22% of the using the new schedule being extrapolated forward, I was wondering if there's any concerns there about that revenue stream.
I don't believe so. I think it's in line. I think Shantae might be able to speak to the schedule, but when I do my reporting for the percentages, I'm just taking the total budgeted revenue and figuring out where we are.
No, I understand that, but so the budgeted, let's clarify, the budgeted revenue.
Yeah.
Was that budget based upon the current 5 days?
Yes.
Opening for the whole year?
Yes.
Okay, so 22% is a little weak, but not alarmingly weak.
It's almost 25%.
Yeah, but on a
well, it is
on a fairly significant budget. I mean, we subsidize the swimming to the tune of 1.6 million.
True.
And then 3%. Anyway, the other one that was there, water and sewer revenues were again down. Is that in part due to the oil industry not using our recycled water so much?
No, I don't believe that the revenues are down. I think it's because, so utility billings and such are every 2 months. So we're only having one. So come second quarter, you'll see better numbers for the simple fact that you know, it's just the way the months work out. It's just I'm not concerned about the revenues at this time.
No, that's a very, very important piece of information, right? That I would have liked to have heard earlier in the meeting, but
but somebody cut you off.
So you didn't read this?
No, I did read it. I missed that point.
It wasn't in there.
Yeah.
It was in there. Any further questions?
Okay, thanks, Terry.
You're welcome.
The next one is Human Resources.
Hello, everyone. So just before we get into the safety cow, I would like to introduce everyone to William Payton. Some of you have met him already. He is our NDIT intern. Council had directed us to look into the internship program through NDIT, and William is the result of that. So we're very excited to have him. He's already accustomed to life in the north. He grew up in Prince George and Williams Lake, so he knows what he's getting into. And we're excited to have him. So for the Committee of the Whole report, safety recently came under my umbrella in the last month or two. So we've also not had our health and safety manager, and our health and safety clerk, Jamie Gillingham, has been an absolute rock star through this process. She's really stepped up and has been keeping things on track, and the entire team. So we've had many different employees lending a hand or lending their expertise through the sort of transition period. And I want to just make sure to share that they've been doing a wonderful job there. As far as our activities in the safety department for April, we've been looking at some of our training for our JOSH committee members, making sure that they are trained up to the standard required by WorkSafe BC. So When they first begin, they need to have at least 8 hours, and then they recommend an additional 8 hours each year. And as the employer, we have to offer that. And they may choose not to take it. But so we've been focusing on that, making sure that we have everybody up to date on the training. As well, we've started including fire extinguisher training as our required training when employees onboard. So there's a short online course that folks can take. I think it took me maybe 15 minutes, so it's nice and quick, as well as continuing to offer the in-person training with the fire department that they run about once a year. We've had some changes with the provincial health orders around COVID, as you have experienced yourselves. We don't have some of our plastic separators up anymore. A lot of the restrictions have been lifted, and we are now operating off of our communicable disease plan rather than the COVID-specific plan. I expect that we won't be reporting on COVID updates in future cows, provided nothing goes south. We did have our day of mourning on April 28th. We had a great turnout, as well as I felt quite a poignant and emotional response to the fact that we did have an employee who passed on his way to work this year, and we did have a specific little memorial for him with his photo, and I think it meant a lot to staff. We did have a huge turnout for that, as well as for the barbecue, and it was a real success this year. The big thing on the docket right now is our preparing for a core maintenance audit, which happens in September. So we've been frantically pulling together everything that we need to get done for that. And again, the staff have been doing a fantastic job. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Next one is the corporate officer.
Good morning. The first thing I wanted to highlight in my report is who does what in regards to elections. Just might explain a little bit more why I was not in the know on Elections BC information. Elections BC has directed the chief election officers to redirect any financial questions to them. Elections BC looks after the advertising rules and the campaign financing rules and registration of elector organizations. So my role as chief election officer is to look after the voting and the ballots and the nomination process. Speaking of the nomination process, the nomination period does start August 30th, and we hope to get the packages ready for pickup by August 1st. The next item I want to highlight is our public notice survey that we did. We did receive 138 residents that completed the survey, and we're now going to do the draw for the winner of that survey. And I've given a little basket over to the chair if you wouldn't mind drawing the winner out of that.
Dig deep.
Drum
It's not
roll.
Lotto 649, but it's. Huh? Brenda Guest.
Oh, that was pretty close to me. Brenda Guest. Okay, we will contact Brenda, and she will be given the option of a $100 gift certificate from the city.
Right on.
Thank you very much. The last item that I wanted to highlight was just that we've hired a new admin casual, Kathy Tubb, and she has finished her training with our department, and we're very lucky to have her with us. But besides that, just any questions?
Questions? Thank you. for your help too.
Oh, we have one.
Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question about the succession plan binders.
Yes.
What do those entail in general? Is it just throw in whatever you think would be handy, or is there a?
That's always
No. I know we had the same kind of thing at the event center when I was there, and now at the credit union, right? What if you were to get hit by a bus? Right, we'll call them the hit by a bus folder, right? What would you need?
Yeah.
Is there a best practices you could refer to? Because I'm always curious about that kind of stuff.
Oh, I see. Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. The department does have many procedures that we create, so that's separate from the succession binders. But we do have a procedure for everything that we do, and that's been very helpful, especially with the turnover that we've had in the last few years. So that's a go-to for us. But the succession binders are specific to what do you do every day, what do you do every month, what do you do every year, and each employee we've narrowed expertise into each role. We used to have it where everybody could manage everything, but we found it a much better idea to have specific roles identified with each employee. But if that employee was to leave, they'd have that binder to open up and say, oh, I have to do this month. So it's based on daily, monthly, and yearly activities.
Cool. Well, appreciate it. Obviously, we hope people stay forever, but
Yeah, and-
in the event they don't, it's nice to have some of that institutional memory remain.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, we have had the turnover in the past just because there's better opportunities that have come for them, and we're happy to see them promote into other positions. Never would hold them back, but we hate to see them go.
Thank you. Infrastructure.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to go through our report really briefly here, touch on a few things. A lot going on in April, this last month and a half. In Public Works, we were doing some street sweeping, sidewalk washing, boulevard sweeping, and take care of some patching, pavement patching, and repairing road surfaces, as well as some sinkholes that come up every year. And that's just part of the aging infrastructure, a very normal thing to happen for many communities. Of course, the weather took a bit of a turn, and we had to go back to snow clearing and then back to sidewalk washing and sweeping. But our employees took it in stride. They did very well. They're prepared for these types of events. In our Water Environmental Department, we finished off our 2021 annual water report and submitted it to our regulator, the Northern Health Authority, as well as performed a bunch of spring cleaning, and they're working on optimization of the water treatment plant, so that's always a good thing. If we can make our water quality better, we're going to try. For the watershed programming, we hit the spring off with a bang and did our hydrometric monitor stations, installed those, and as well as monitored our water levels. And also planned on some invasive weeds management for this year on our reservoir sites. We have 9 reservoir sites in the area, plus our water treatment plant grounds and lagoons, and we need to make sure we take care of those invasive weeds. So this program is typically pretty low cost, and it'll look at taking care of those for our neighbors in the regional district and in the city. Our IT department looked at the water sales kiosk replacement project. That is just about completed. We have kiosks in every facility now, and we're just getting the last few up and running. But all of the water sales kiosks for residential, commercial, and industrial users have been transferred over to the new system. And just to touch on what we've been working on recently, we've been sweeping, pothole patching, working on compost, and today we did downtown sidewalk inspections where our Public Works goes out with engineering, they go together and they check for trips and slips and falls and any sorts of hazards, anything that popped up over the winter time, quite literally through the heaving and whatever else that we found in the snow. You guys have any questions?
Thank you. Oh,
The issue of
it just takes them a while.
Paul, the issue of potholes. The NAR part is, from the point of view of pavement, is a disaster. And I know staff were trying to patch a few things prior to the art auction, but when is it scheduled to completely redo that part? All the pavement there is cracked up and disintegrating.
I'll leave this one for Kevin to answer.
Maybe it's had so much usage through the truck protest stuff for heavy vehicles. I don't know, but it's disastrous.
Kevin, sorry.
So I'm looking at Kevin, I think.
So through you, Mr. Chair, we are we're going to start budgeting for some parking lot repairs to some of our facilities. We highlighted that. I mean, that one's been in tough shape for a few years, obviously, but our focus has been on roads, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of roads that are in tough shape. But I think we're at a point where we need to start trying to deal with some of these, and so you'll see probably in the 23 budget, we'll start to set some aside for parking lots. That one is bad. Memorial Arena, Kin Arena, curling rink, those ones are bad. So there's a few others. So yeah, we're going to start putting some money aside for them.
It'll be a considerable amount of money, won't it?
Yes. Unfortunately, the reason that the NER is, it's aged, but it's got inadequate drainage, and probably I'm going to suspect that we'll find inadequate gravel structure underneath it as well. And so that's what happens. They age and they fall apart, and that's where we're at.
There, thank you now.
Awesome, thank you. Have a good day.
So we'll now recess to closed. And you want me to read 17.1? I don't have to? Good, thank you.
You can read it, Paul.
Got windy in here again.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll...
Excuse me, through your worship, we do need a motion.
Pardon?
We do need a motion.
Oh, okay. Councillor Wilbur, Councillor Kemp.
Voting.
Voting.